We are live here on a Wednesday here on A to Z Sports. I'm Zach Bingham. He is our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan. Going to have a big show and just some news about 7-8 minutes ago comes down from the Bay Area that we'll touch on, but we'll probably dive into Thursday or Friday on this morning show. We do have a good show in store for you because, with Ran Carthon and some of the rumors swirling over the last several months, maybe things can be shaken up a little bit on draft night. And I think everybody is waiting for draft night. I'm waiting for draft night. I'll be there in Kansas City figuring out what's going to happen, who's going to trade who's going to pick who. And it's going to be a damn good time. But a lot can happen on draft night, night 1, night 2, day 3. So all these things going on. We're going to talk about a couple of scenarios that could happen today, including Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard. Over the weekends, some other rumors, right? And that's what they are leading up. Rumors of, Kevin Byard, and we know the scenario and the saga that have been going on between Ran Carthon, new Titans general manager, and Kevin Byard, and asking him to take a pay cut, them saying, I don't want to take a pay cut, and then Titans saying, okay, then don't take a pay cut, and then figuring out, well, what's going to happen if you don't take a pay cut? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And Derrick Henry, two big pieces of the Titans. What are their values, too? That's something that we got to figure out. So maybe some draft day trades, as we saw last year. We're going to dive into more of that, and we will end the show, because it is a Wednesday, with throwing shade. Sam, today I will be throwing shade at myself for watching trash television in which I am throwing shade on that show, if that makes any sense.
I'm fascinated. I have a shade that is also on myself and I have two shades, but one of them is on myself and television related as well. So this is kind of ironic that that's kind of where we're at on a Wednesday, that we're both shading ourselves here.
I care about this shade, but it's like, it's shade that I don't get embarrassed, but it's an embarrassing shade because of how bad this trash reality television show is that I watch and have watched all 4 seasons of. Everybody has it, but I'm going to disclose.
You're giving away a little too much information, because I think I already know where you're going with it, but we'll talk about it.
So here would be my question. Now I'm intrigued. If you think you know what I'm talking about, do you watch said show that you think I know I'm talking about?
If it is the show I believe you're talking about, I have seen most of one season. But even I'm a reality. I was texting with Austin about this the other day. I watch way too much reality television. I love reality television.
That's why we get along.
Yeah, I'm a reality TV guy through and through, and yet I couldn't even bring myself to do more than one season of this. But it's definitely, reality TV is a mindless watch, which is the best thing about it, is that you can just turn it on and just be like, I don't have to think. I don't have to do anything other than just kind of live in somebody else's fantasy world right now. And it can be entertaining to watch people, we'll talk about it.
But the viewers are going to learn something about me, and it sounds like Sam today at Throwing Shade. So before we officially get started, Sam, tell everybody what they need to do before we get this show going on a Wednesday.
Well, listen, it is a Wednesday, and it is the Wednesday. I believe this is our second to last Wednesday before the NFL draft. So that is where we're at. We're getting closer. The topics are getting spicier and hotter. The rumors are continuing to churn. So as we go and discuss the show this morning and every day for the rest of this offseason as this plays out, make sure you are sharing the show. If you're watching on Facebook, go click the share button in the bottom right corner. That's YouTube. Go send the YouTube link to a friend, into a group chat, to your Titans friends group chat, to your family group chat, to your buddy that watches the games and loves the team as well. That's how you support. Sharing is caring. That's how you get more people involved with the A to Z Sports family. So make sure you do that for us on a fine Wednesday before we kick things off.
Yeah, like the show before you go. Here's the cool part. We can see how many people have liked the show. There's over 200 people on here, but we don't have that many likes. We got to like the show before you go and also subscribe. Let's officially get this party started. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I am Zach Bingham. He is our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan, and we are A to Z Sports, and we are powered by BetMGM. We love BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, all in one word, as your bonus code for a new user. We love BetMGM. You can get in on the action, whether it's draft, NBA playoffs, college baseball you can bet on. You can bet on Major League Baseball. That's BetMGM. Download the app today. Wilson County Hyundai, right there on the screen, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. They've got you covered when it comes to your perfect make and model. Visit wilsoncountyhyundai.com today. FBHP.com/A to Z is Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee. They help you out when you're in need. I have a plan with Farm Bureau Health Plans. You should have a plan as well. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ. And the Bone and Joint Institute, don't fumble on your recovery. That's the Bone and Joint Institute. It is trusted all across Middle Tennessee. They got a state-of-the-art facility down there in Franklin, satellite locations all across the mid-state. That right there is Bone and Joint Institute. And Aura, a brand new sponsor that we love, and they've got you covered to keep you safe from the dark web. They're a brand new sponsor. You can get 2 weeks for free at aura.com/ATOZ and see how many data brokers are sharing your information. You never want that, right? They call you, they find out where you are. Aura is a great place and great place to go to prevent that. All right, Sam, let's get this party started. So this is a tough day for Titans fans. We're going to start with the news that just happened, and then we're going to get to the tough news that we're going to put out there on the table. But just coming down the Twitter timeline is Ian Rappaport, and let me read you this live. This was tweeted at 8:07. That was currently about 18 minutes ago. Ian Rappaport says, sources, the 49ers have received inquiries from several teams looking into a potential trade for former number 3 pick Trey Lance. The conversations have been the result of San Francisco fielding the calls, not making them, with teams aware that Brock Purdy is likely the future starter. Now, Brock Purdy injured and had surgery on his throwing elbow in that NFC Championship game against the Philadelphia Eagles. You've seen him in a cast on social media, but because Ran Carthon comes from San Francisco, there is a connection there. So let's get your initial reaction on that, with Ian Rappaport reporting that the 49ers receiving inquiries from several teams on quarterback Trey Lance.
Yeah, I think this is something that has made sense for a while on paper. Really, as soon as the season ended and you saw what Brock Purdy did with San Francisco, there was a consensus around the league that Trey Lance was likely did not have a place as a future piece or a future starter with the 49ers. So it just hasn't worked. They tried to go with him as their starter last year. He got hurt again, and Brock Purdy stepped in and Wally pipped him. So Trey Lance is on the block. I think that was made all but a guarantee when they signed Sam Darnold, right? I mean, there was some questions about whether or not they would keep Trey Lance given Purdy's injury situation, but you signed Sam Darnold, who now is a veteran backup with some decent upside given Kyle Shanahan's system. And if you really need a guy to start for a couple weeks while Purdy is coming back from his injury, you have a guy that's very capable there now. So a team like the Titans, a couple other teams around the league should absolutely have interest in Lance, who we know has the upside and the athleticism and the frame to be a top quarterback prospect. And obviously, you'd like to think at least Ran Carthon has to like him because of what the 49ers gave up to go and get that guy in the draft just a few years ago. So I think it makes sense. It's a rumor that has, the dots have kind of connected with this one really since Ran got hired as Titans GM. And I would not be surprised if that was something that you continue to hear about until he gets moved.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow and go over Trey Lance's contract details because that has value. Ryan Tannehill has value in this conversation because of the amount of money he is paid. Trey Lance is not a he is a developmental quarterback, but he's been in the league. It's not as developmental as Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, or Hendon Hooker if you choose to go that route. So a lot to unpack there. So we'll kind of wait and see what more Rap Sheet comes out with today. And if there's any movement on that, we'll probably do a show on that tomorrow. Let's get to our topic today, though, because let's see here. We had a question from MB. It says, how is that supposed to be a tough morning, Zach? Well, MB, that is not the tough morning. The tough morning is what could happen on draft day. And the tough morning is what we're going to ask Titans fans today here on A to Z Sports. So, Sam, I'm going to let you tell the story of the last couple of months of what has gone on in rumors surrounding two superstars. And the Titans don't have a lot of superstars, but two of them on the Tennessee Titans roster. There's been some rumors swirling around both of them. Maybe there's a possibility where one or two of them could be moved for a better position or a better player within the roster due to the circumstances and the contract. So, Sam, tell the fine folks kind of a recap of the last couple of months of what we've been hearing and kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Well, listen, Zach, this has been forgotten about. Is that fair within the Titans fan base and within media? I think the Jeffrey Simmons contract extension really did a lot for the morale of the Titans fan base, the direction that people feel confident in. They are really buying in and believing to Ran Carthon, as they should. I mean, he has given them no reason not to trust his plan and his vision for the future of this team. But it doesn't change the numbers. It doesn't change the salaries or the contracts or the difficult spot that Ran and the Titans are going to be in as the draft approaches. So this was back during the NFL Combine, as Titans fans will remember, when they were reportedly shopping Derrick Henry. Now, we really never got clarity on whether that was they were listening to offers or actively pursuing trade partners. I interpreted that, as well as you, I believe, as actively pursuing a trade partner. That is kind of how I defined shopped, right? I mean, that is going and pursuing a move using Derrick Henry. So you see that from Mike Silver and the reports that came out there. Well, the Kevin Byard situation unraveled as well with his, contract situation. His, will he take a pay cut? The Titans asked Kevin to take a pay cut. He doesn't want to. We really haven't gotten any sort of resolution to that. As of right now, he's still a Tennessee Titan. But this is Jeremy Fowler's quote from SportsCenter this weekend saying that, hey, make no mistake about it, this hasn't gone away for the Titans in lieu of the Jeffrey Simmons signing and the draft approaching. Fowler says, this is one I'm watching. We talked about Budda Baker being earlier as being available, high-end safety. This is another one, referring to Byard, where he's not necessarily available via trade that he's been shopped, but something could give with his contract. He's a player who wants to retire in Tennessee, wants to stay there, believes has been playing at a high level for years, and he has been. His play hasn't dropped off, so he's not eager to take any sort of pay cut. Something has to give, and I do think at the end of the day, he would be open to a trade if the Titans wanted to explore it. So these rumors have not gone away. And as the draft approaches here, as you pointed out, as we were on the phone earlier this morning, we are, a week from like round one here being right up upon us. So the Titans are going to have some very difficult decisions to make very quickly, because if you're moving on from either one of these guys, you're going to want to get draft capital that can help you this season. And I think Titans fans need to keep in mind that this is still a very real possibility we could be dealing with on draft night.
Eric says, not for long. Welcome to the NFL. And it leads us into our tough question. You have to answer one of the two. None or neither will not be read. I'm reading the comments. I've made that executive decision. Not reading them. Okay, I'm going to skim over them. You have to pick one. I'm going to pick one. Sam's going to pick one. We want the chat to pick one. Would you rather trade to improve the Titans on draft night, Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry? Who would you rather trade to improve the Titans roster on draft night, Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry? I know this is a question. I told you, this is a tough show. You're picking which kid do you love more, right? Is it your firstborn son or is it your firstborn daughter? It's tough, right? But you have to pick one. So the question is, to repeat, who would you rather trade to improve the Titans roster on draft night, Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry? Sam very well, eloquently talked about both Henry and Byard and the circumstance over the last couple of months. We'll get to your comments, but first, I'm going to tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans. Health, dental, and vision, 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. I switched in 2022, and man, am I glad that I did. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee got me covered because I took a health assessment and then got a quote. And once I got a quote, I realized, wow, this health plan is a lot better than my previous health plan. They've got perfect health plans for you and your family, whether you're single, whether you're married with kids. It does not matter. 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. If you live in the state of Tennessee, visit fbhp.com/A to Z. You'll be happy that you did.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, and BetMGM is offering a Call Your Shot Wednesday. That's right, Call Your Shot Wednesday. You can opt in on the BetMGM app and place a $25 home run player prop and instantly get a $10 bonus bet when you do so. So find that player or that matchup that is just red hot and that you have to place a bet on. Maybe it is on the first place Atlanta Braves, who have won 8 games in a row and are absolutely surging in the NL East right now. So find that team that is cannot be stopped. Find a player that you think is going to go deep. Place a $25 player prop on that player and get a $10 bonus bet when you do so with the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM.
A to Z Sports. The question we asked is, who would you rather trade to improve the Titans roster, Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry? Let's go to the chat. I am more interested in the comments than I think I have been all week. This is a great question. Let's see what the people say. Jay says Derrick Henry. Mark says Byard. Martin says Henry. Jimbo says Byard. All right, we're off to a good start. We got 1-1. Frank goes Henry. So does Joshua. Trade Henry from Clayton Smith. Henry from John. Stephen King says KB. Henry from Titanium Titan. So does Daniel. Byard, if I have to choose one, from Polly D. Byard from Craig. Mike says Henry. Sky says Byard. More value. Johnny says Henry. So does Devin and Billy Jones. Here's a string of Henrys with Eric and Tall Texan saying that the running back position is not as important. Michael Kennedy says Byard. Scott says painfully Byard. Tank says KB. So you have a string of 3 Henrys. You got a string of 3 Byards. You've got Marcus that goes with Derrick Henry. Ramon goes with KB. Jarvis goes with Byard. Mark goes with Byard. Alex goes with Byard. Weiss goes for Byard. And then you've got Dylon going with Henry. But here's another more Byards. You've got Joey, top tier, both going Byard. You've got Jacoby and Brad both going Henry. Williams goes Byard. Joey says Henry. Dio says Byard. Henry is stable. But Brent says Henry. I mean, Williams says Henry and Timothy says Byard. One says Finkel. The other one says Einhorn. This is, I feel like, the closest chat response that we have had in some time. You know, there's your fair share of Henrys with Eric, Jonathan, Jordan, and Yuri, but you see Paige and Max coming in with Byard, and Pistol Ramsey with Byard, and Richie with Byard. So this is a dead race. This is wild. And I'll give a little golf clap to the chat for playing by the rules and actually picking one. I mean,
you laid down the law. You laid down the law
great.
with that one.
Here, real quick, let's get to some lunchbox money. John says Henry, because the offense is operated more balanced without Henry, and they already proven that they can win without Henry being on the field. And you saw that a couple of years ago when he went out with his foot injury. And Zachary Parvis is perfect first two nights, talking about in Jigba, it looks like, and at 11 at Darnell Washington at 41. You've got the third right there, or any interior lineman. So Zachary Purvis coming in with really 3 picks for the Titans. Let's get back on track, though, Sam. What would you do if you were the Titans to improve your roster and you had to trade one of the two, Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry? The chat is split. Where do you reside?
Well, I understand why the chat is split, because I believe your heart tells you one answer and your brain tells you another answer, because you don't have too many face of the franchise, future Hall of Fame, generational talents like Derrick Henry that come across your franchise. And you never want to see that era end. I mean, the Titans have been fortunate enough to go from Eddie George to Chris Johnson to Derrick Henry all within the last, 20 plus years. And they've seen, just a long, successful history of running backs really since this franchise came into existence. But those guys don't come around very often ultimately. And it would hurt to see him go. It would hurt to see him play for another team. But the logical answer and the correct answer, in my opinion, if you have to trade one of the two, would be Derrick Henry. The running back position is far more replaceable, far less impactful on a team's cumulative success than, really an anchor of your defense and a safety is. Henry has one less year on his contract. I think he has a less high-end football left in the tank. And I think he's far easier to replace in the Titans offense than Kevin Byard is in the Titans defense right now. So I think you have to go with Derrick Henry of the two. Like, if the goal is to improve the team, if the goal is to win as many games as possible, I don't see how you make your team better by trading Kevin Byard. I don't necessarily think you're better by trading Derrick Henry either, but if it's one or the other, I think there is more of a scenario where you can move on from Henry, replace him with Hassan Haskins and a, say, 4th round, rookie running back that comes in here, and you can use the money in the draft capital gain to acquire other assets that fill areas of need. It has to be Derrick Henry, in my opinion.
So let me ask you this. What else is left on the offense without Derrick Henry?
Yeah, I mean that is a fair point.
I think you made good points, but that would be my counter question is, what else do you have left on your offense?
That's a good point. I mean, because we know the wide receivers are an issue. Chig Okonkwo is talented. Treylon Burks is talented. I think they'll make a move on a wide receiver. So now you have some young weapons with Ryan Tannehill throwing them the ball. But I do think the offensive line is better than what we saw last year, like at least in theory. And I do think the balance could help them a little bit more.
Balance with who?
Well, with throwing the ball a little bit more with 2 rookie receivers in Chig Okonkwo and Kyle Phillips potentially, rather than just like feeding it to Henry 35 times a game. Your offense isn't going to be good, but it's not going to be good with Derrick either. So
it's better. It's a lot better with Derrick, right? Because you have a piece. And I bring all of that up because W. Calden kind of sparked me to ask that question, because he says, pains me to say, but Byard. the Titans defense is in a far better place than the Titans offense. Can't lose Derek with the state of our offensive weapons and what the Titans have. And so I read that comment. I was like, well, okay, there's a fair point. Your defense, you're taking away more from your bad offense.
But I don't believe in the idea of like taking away from your defense to preserve your offense, like tearing down a strength because you have a fear of like making a weakness weaker. I don't think makes a ton of sense to me. I think the more logical route that would lead to more success is to keep Kevin Byard in your defense, have a strong, right. So are we operating under the assumption that the goal of this trade is to compete in 2023 and be as competitive as possible?
The goal of the trade is to improve the Titans roster, right? And however you feel that way is, it could be for the future, it could be for the now, it could be whatever you justify, but that's how we position the question, right? So like you're putting these pieces, Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard, on the table as a trade component to say this is going to improve the roster.
Well, what improves the roster more? Not paying $16 million to a running back. So, I mean, moving on from Derrick Henry, clearing some of that salary cap space.
For what? For 1 year, though.
For 1 year, yeah. And I mean, true. I think I'm operating under the 2023, arc here because, right, like Ryan Tannehill's not under contract past 2023. A lot of these guys have expiring deals. So if you're going to make a move, you're either making a move, with a future rebuild in mind, but the question is to improve the roster this year. I don't want $16 million in my running back. I want Hassan Haskins and a draft pick, a 3rd or 4th round pick that, as I think the other point that the Titans have proven they can win without Derrick Henry is a very good point, because you see this happen in the NFL all the time that, a running back in a good system with a well-balanced offense can be just as productive. Now, Derrick is a level above, a replacement level running back, but that doesn't mean the Titans still can't find offensive success with those guys, with him not on the roster. So what happens if you use that money to go and get your number 1 wide receiver? What happens if you use it to trade for DeAndre Hopkins and then you fill the left guard spot in the draft? And now you're looking at an offense that has Treylon Burks, a rookie receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Chigakonkwo, kind of a rebuilt offensive line, and then a couple dual threat running backs. Like, that is a better use of the resources than $16 million on Henry this year. And I really am against the idea of like, well, we don't want to weaken the offense too much, so now we're going to create a problem in the secondary that also showed some issues last season. Like, where would the Titans secondary have been a year ago without Kevin Byard? That's an important conversation to have too, because they were horrific for the first 8 games of the year.
Yeah, look, I think that there's valid points all around that, right? Like, I feel like this is why we asked the question. I think it's a very difficult question because both have value and different value, right? Value to other teams and value to the Titans. So I have my answer. I didn't know what your answer was going to be, and I think you answered the question well. I have a different view on some things, and I'm going to get to that. But first, Sam, could you please tell the fine folks at home about our brand new sponsor, Aura? That, look, you talk about security. That's what the Titans are trying to find. We've got security right here.
Well, listen, anyone can find anything on the internet, Zach, and that includes your full name, your personal email, your home address, your phone number, even like relatives and family members. That's how scary the internet can be at times. But how about this? Aura, I used Aura, using the link that Austin sent me earlier this week. They found 26 different data brokers who had access to my information and my data. They've already removed my information from 17 of those data brokers and are actively working to remove my info from the other 9. It literally took me maybe 1 to 2 minutes. I clicked on a link, I filled out some information and my email, I hit go on my phone, I downloaded the app, and just like that, with a snap of fingers, Aura was there to protect me, to look out for my data. They can do a lot more than just that too. Data brokers can profit by selling your information to robocallers, telemarketers, spammers, and really anyone that wants to learn more information about you. They target that sort of info, but our sponsor Aura will identify those who are exposing your information and automatically submit opt-out requests on your behalf. They can even opt you out of junk mail, telemarketing lists, you name it. So add my name to the do not call list ahead of time. I used to get spam calls all the time, but now I'm using Aura to prevent that. So I don't want to see any more no caller ID coming across my phone. Aura service also features a VPN, a password manager, real-time credit and identity theft monitoring, internet parental controls, and protects your devices from malware. Aura has almost every internet safety tool you'll ever need, all inside one app. So let Aura do the hard work and keep you safe online. If you sign up right now, Aura will give you a 2-week free trial with our link. A 2-week free trial with our link. That's what I used. And I'm never going back from using Aura because they're there for me and they're there for you too. So make sure you get with our brand new sponsor and get protected online.
There you go. Hey, get all those calls. Those calls are annoying, I will say. They
the worst.
No, yeah, they waste time, and that's all we have. And you got time to make some money on BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. Get a bonus bet up to $1,000 for new users if you use that promo code. They are the king of the sports book. To recap a little bit, we saw on March 6, 2023, the report of the Titans possibly shopping Derrick Henry. That was prior to the Panthers trading up from 9 to the Bears for the number 1 overall pick. And then we saw this over the weekend from Jeremy Fowler. And I'll kind of recap what this paragraph says about the pay cut that the Titans asked Kevin Byard to take. And Fowler goes on to say his play, talking about Byard's, hasn't dropped off, so he's not eager to take any sort of pay cut. Something has to give, though, and I do think at the end of the day, he would be open to a trade if the Titans wanted to explore it. That's Jeremy Fowler on Kevin Byard over the weekend for ESPN. So it got us to this question. If for the Titans to approve the roster, who would you rather trade, Derrick Henry or Kevin Byard? I think that the comments have clearly been split, and some lunchbox money here saying, Kane says, y'all tripping. Henry does more offensively that is mid than KB does for a top 10 defense that consistently gets burned. Makes 0 sense. And then
I think that's disrespectful to Kevin Byard, but
Kane doesn't care,
yeah.
which is I respect that, right? And John says, a little jackpot bucks says, Henry is easier to replace than Byard would ever be. Remember, guys and gals, Foreman stepped right in midseason and performed at a high level from the start. The Titans are built to run the ball. I think John brings up a valid question there, and
Kane says it's not valid. I mean, he comes back, says the Foreman argument isn't valid. That offense was healthier. I mean, so is the Dante Foreman argument? Is it Deontay? I think I say Deontay is what I've said, but I don't know. He's a Bear now. I should probably learn how to pronounce his first name. Is the Foreman argument valid when, pointing at Henry? Yes, I think it is. No, he's not the same running back as a Hassan Haskins. But the point is, how often do you see this in the league that you kind of go, so-and-so team is moving on from this X running back and they're using a 4th round draft pick, and guys come out of nowhere to be very productive. If you know how to run the ball, you know how to run the ball. And, Foreman was an example in that season of removing Derrick Henry from a successful running offense, inserting a back into it that was also able to have a ton of success in Henry's absence. So that's not to say he's as good as Henry or that he is, on the same caliber, does the same things for the offense. But when I'm looking at damage control, I'm looking to offset $16 million that I'm paying Derrick Henry. Well, how can I save money, gain draft capital, and, not hurt my team an astronomical amount? And I keep going back to this. The Super Bowl winning leading rushers over the past, years since 2009, and you look at the average salary of just over $1 million, and then you realize Derrick Henry is making 16 for the Titans this year. What does that do for them against the cap? What does it prevent them from doing in other places on their roster? So that is the Foreman argument, that maybe it is a third round or a fourth round draft pick this year in a good running back class that comes into the Titans offense and partnered with Hassan Haskins can be productive enough to have, a well-respected run game and have $16 million and an extra draft capital to use elsewhere. That's what you need to keep in mind.
So, Sam, I like the chat have gone back and forth on this, and because I think it's a good question, and there's pros and cons to both, but I think I've come to the conclusion that Derrick Henry and his value right now to other teams and the sexiness, I think you can get more from him for him, which creates value, not more than Byard. I'm not saying that. I'm saying more for Derrick Henry because where he is in his career, what he represents, there's still tread on the tires, right? And for a team that's trying to make a Super Bowl run, I think you could get a couple of desperate teams to bid between Derrick Henry and get rid of him, sell his 1 year. When is the most profitable to trade a player? Is when he has an expiring contract. Derrick Henry has an expiring contract at the end of the year. I've looked at, and I've gone through and looked at a ton of the comments, and Brent brings up the reason you train Henry over Byard is on third down. Henry is on the bench.
A great point. A great point. I love Derrick Henry. It's a great point.
59 seconds on the clock, Sam. You got one timeout and you're down by 6.
Your favorite scenario.
Where's Derrick Henry?
Yeah. He's on the sideline.
Yeah, he's not playing. But I don't think other teams need him for that. Because if he's traded to the Bills or who knows, with Joe Mixon, the Bengals, or somebody with a quarterback, you're not worried. You don't have the same problems as the Titans. Here's the other thing. Kevin Byard, I still think that years are left, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't help themselves by asking him to take a pay cut for the long run. But I do think that Kevin Byard wants to be with the Titans for the rest of his career if he can. I think Derrick Henry does too. But Sam, I didn't know what you're going to say, but you should trade Derrick Henry because it's to improve the roster of the Titans. But I would go a step further, is to improve the philosophy of the Titans. And you've got to do that. You can't keep playing Eddie George football. Eddie George is awesome. He is, but he was awesome in the 2000s. Derrick Henry is Eddie George. He's a better version. He runs the same. He prevents quarterback play. And the Titans, they honestly, to give up Derrick Henry and to go get a quarterback or a better wide receiver to make your quarterback throw to him, that has more value in the long run to help your team. So, Sam, I can argue till I'm blue in the face, but I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And Derrick Henry is the correct answer here.
Yeah, I think the Byard shelf life thing is an important piece of this as well. Like, we know he wants to be in Tennessee. We know that, in an ideal world, he's here long term. And I don't think there's any reason to believe Kevin Byard doesn't have 4 or 5 years of really good football left. He has always been the pinnacle of health. He is the leader of your defense. He, is everything that Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams Strunk want in a Tennessee Titan. Not to say Derrick Henry is not, but that is a guy that is doing it at a high level and will continue to do so. Derrick's on the expiring contract, and I do think there is something to the, transforming the philosophy a little bit. But what I was going to say, Zach, was do not hear this, chat, and as coming for my throat saying the Titans need to trade away Derrick Henry. I was very adamant earlier in the offseason that they would be foolish to do so, because as long as Ryan Tannehill is your quarterback this season, Derrick Henry needs to be your running back, because you don't have the wide receivers to play pass first. And if you're going to half compete, you might as well try and compete all the way. But if I am put in the situation which the question prompts, which is I have to move one or the other because something needs to give with the salary cap to improve my roster, which is a real issue they're up against right now, I don't see how trading Byard is more beneficial in any way than moving on from Henry would be. Like, it is the worst of two evil, or, you know, whatever, the better of two evils. Is that the phrase? I'm not, lesser of two evils. But that's where I'm at on it. I think, you made some great points.
Well, and Ronald says, well, you know, he agrees on Henry, but who is the face of the Titans then? And that's a real other struggle. You're going to have to draft. Here's the other thing. If you don't have Henry, your offense is so damn bad that you're now probably going to pick in the top 10 next year. And maybe now you're punting. That was kind of my philosophy, and I hated to say that. I think Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill can win you 7 to 9 games to keep you from the top 10, right? This is a weird year. They won 7 games and they're picking 11, but there are also 7-win teams that are picking 10 and 9, I believe. So, but without Derrick Henry, you're not going to win 7 games. I think you're going to win 5. And so if you're winning 5 or 6, then you're picking in the top 10. And then, Sam, I don't mind you trading both of your future first-round picks for Caleb Williams or another premier quarterback at the top of next year's draft, and you kick the can and you continue to build under Ran Carthon's philosophy. Do I think that Mike Vrabel and Carthon want to do that? No, I don't. And is there a way to bridge the gap with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill and Kevin Byard? Yes, absolutely. You can bridge. But without Derrick Henry, you're not winning a lot of games. Your offense is too damn bad.
Yeah, I mean, who is the face of the Titans franchise? Like, I mean, the face of your team in
Jeffrey
the NFL
Simmons.
today.
I'll answer the question. The face of your franchise is Jeffrey Simmons. The problem with that, guys, is the face of your franchise cannot be a defensive lineman. Even Aaron Donald is not the face.
Quarterback. It needs to be your quarterback. Straight up. Like, your best player, the face of your franchise, needs to be your quarterback. Unless you are the anomaly, which is the San Francisco 49ers, I guess, that are a really good team that just have a bunch of good players and no real.
They got a bunch of faces, though, right? They've got Christian McCaffrey now. They've got Deebo Samuel. They've got George Kittle, which is a face. They've got Nick Bosa. I mean, those are premier guys. You can't go down the roster and the list of the Tennessee Titans and list those. Even Aaron Donald, when they won the Super Bowl, had Cooper Kupp, who was lighting the world on fire. Odell Beckham Jr., Matthew Stafford, who had just gotten traded and was a household name. Jalen Ramsey, right? Like they had the same roster that I just described the 49ers. Without Derrick Henry, where do you go outside of Jeffrey Simmons?
Well, nobody, but like,
I'll wait.
Yeah. Well, the face of my point being in that whole deal is, yes, it is Jeffrey Simmons. The face of your franchise in today's NFL needs to be your quarterback. And if it's not, your roster's probably not good enough, because the quarterbacks that are good enough are synonymous with their team. I think of the Cincinnati Bengals. I see Joe Burrow. The Philadelphia Eagles have great player after great player after great player. I see Jalen Hurts. Same thing with Mahomes. Same thing with Allen. Same thing with Trevor Lawrence. Same thing with Justin Herbert. Same thing even with Lamar Jackson, provided he is still on the Baltimore Ravens. The top quarterbacks in the game are the faces of their franchise, and there's not too many good Super Bowl contending teams that don't have a QB as their figurehead. So that is the ultimate point around the Titans. Is you think of the Titans right now, you think of Derrick Henry. He's gone. You probably think of Jeffrey Simmons or Ryan Tannehill or whoever, but you need to have a quarterback be the guy that leads this next era of Titans football.
Yeah, and what you don't want is, let's see if I can find it, NWI being plastered all over the outside of the new stadium. If NWI is a player that is on the side of the stadium, tough scene.
I don't think he is right now, but you make a couple moves.
I know. Without Derrick Henry, you can't put him. What are you going to do? Chig's going to be up there.
How many are we talking? How many do we get? How many do we get up there?
Well, they'll consolidate. They used to put like 3 up per pillar. Now it will be, just Traylon Burks because they don't have the guys.
Yeah, you got to do, I guess it's Tannehill, it's Simmons. You could do Harold Landry. You paid him a big deal. You do Byard. You do Burks. You do Chig.
Aziz is on like a 1-year deal.
You don't do Aziz yet. Maybe Amani Hooker. He's on a nice contract. You paid him.
Where are we at, guys? Amani Hooker doesn't need to be on the side of the damn building.
On the billboards after I leave the stadium while I'm driving on the highway. There's that one. It's like Tennessee Tough or whatever, and you see all the best players up there. Maybe we'll get NWI on that billboard next year.
Shout out to Gloreco, who didn't comment but just donated a Coca-Cola right there, $1 right there. So look, we try to keep track as best we can of our lunchbox money. Let's talk about this before we get to shade, and that is, what are the value of these guys? This is, I think, the hardest question. We had a really hard question, but there's no basis of like, what does a team think they would give up for Derrick Henry? What does a team think that they would give up for Kevin Byard? So let's play that game. But first, Sam, tell everybody about the Bone and Joint Institute.
The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Visit boneandjointtn.org. That's their website. Whenever you get hurt in life, you know what you have to do. You know who you need to turn to. That's the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located in Franklin with over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury at any time. They have a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to assist in your recovery, and their facility is as convenient as it gets because it's all under one roof, all in the same building. I'm talking a clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. No driving point A to point B to point C to go and do your appointments or get your care, all in the same place at the Bone and Joint Institute out in Franklin. So schedule an appointment. You go to boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. You see that right there. Bonus code ATOZ Sports are the king of the sports book. They got you covered when it comes to betting. Bonus bets up to $1,000 for new users if you use that promo code. All right, Sam, let's get down to the nitty gritty. What we asked is, what is the trade value of Derrick Henry and Kevin Byard? And Jay says Henry has no trade value at this point. Kyle says late second to third round pick, third for Derrick Henry, second for Kevin Byard, no more than a third round pick. Talk about Derrick Henry, third and a fifth from Eric. Like, the value of this, we're not going first round pick. That's not the value, which I appreciate the chat. The chat is smarter than that. I didn't expect. The chat is smart. They're educated on this. They sometimes say some stupid stuff, but as a whole, I trust this chat to make informed decisions, right? They're not just throwing out wild numbers. Where are we? Because let's try to do this as an exercise. Derrick Henry has an expiring contract, but is valuable to certain teams. Kevin Byard has more of a long-term deal. Now, there's a lot more money on the books because there's $13 million in base salary, I believe. Let me check this real quick because I looked it up. $13.6 million in 2023, $13.6 million in 2024. He's 29 years old, too. You got to look at Byard and where Derrick Henry is as well, who is 29. They play two different positions of, lasting. What's the value of Derrick Henry? Let's go with the most that a team you think would give up for Henry.
I think if you get really lucky, it's a third rounder. I probably place a 4th round value on him. I think is like what I keep kind of coming back to. Maybe a bidding war makes a team give you a 3 for him, like, just trying to make sure they get the deal done. But I think a 4 is the ultimate value that I would place on Henry, and you might be able to sneak in a late 3rd, but that is kind of what I think you can get for him.
Let me stop you there before you go to
Yeah.
Byard. I think it is the cusp. I think that you could get, here's my justification. I think you could get a late 3rd round pick from a team ready to win that is picking later in that 3rd round to maybe make the move to justify it, to get them
Yeah.
over the hump, to say this 3rd round pick is going to be a centerpiece to winning a Super Bowl next year. That's where I think you could justify a 3rd round pick. I think conceptually it's a 4th, but I think you could get a 3rd.
Yep. That's exactly where I'm at. And it depends on, what the market is, right? Like how many teams have genuine interest as the draft approaches, and how well Ran Carthon can sell legitimate interest from, another team saying, hey, you're going to miss out on this guy if you don't, jump in at the end of the 3rd round, or give us, maybe a team has 2 picks and it's pick 86 versus pick 99. And they're saying, hey, you go from 99 to 86, the deal's yours. If not, he's going to Miami, he's going to Buffalo, or whoever. That'll be interesting to see how that would play out should they decide to go that route.
Before we move to Byard, Malika, if you're getting that, is it worth it for the Titans? You also have to figure out if it's worth it.
Yeah, which this has been the reason that I've been anti-trade Henry in general. While I think he is the smarter of the two to move on from, I personally don't believe a late 3rd or a 4th is worth the fallout. Like, if the goal is to win in 2023, the goal is to be competitive this year, I personally don't believe that pick is worth not having Derek on the roster. If it was a 2nd rounder, it's a different kind of story, but you're talking late 3rd or 4th round, probably not, in my opinion. But I mean, who knows? I'm, like you said, expiring contract with a lot of money. So, maximizing and getting something for that might be a priority to the Titans.
All right, Byard.
I think you can get a 2 and a late pick. I think you can get a couple picks for him. He is one of the better players at his position. He has more than 1 year of control left. So, like, it's not like a one and done type deal. You're trading for 2 years of elite safety play. I think you get a 2nd round pick, maybe a future 5. Like, that's kind of just spitballing, but I think you can get decent value for Kevin Byard on 2 picks and as high as a 2nd round pick.
Yeah, I'm with you on the 2nd. I don't think he yields a 1st, even though he's a future. I mean, he's a great, solid player. He's a leader. He is not a locker room disruptor. He's actually glue within the locker room. He's a stand-up guy. He's going to bring tons of value, stability, leadership. I mean, he's turnover ability. It would be, I think what you could do, like teams at the high end of the very 1st round, if you're trading up to get a quarterback, don't value Derrick Henry. The Cardinals don't value Derrick Henry. The Cardinals could, and I don't even know because of Budda Baker and stuff, I don't even know if they would value Kevin Byard, but maybe you could find a team if quarterbacks fell and the Titans were training up from 11 to, like, I don't know, 9 with the Bears. The Bears are keep moving back, or 7 or 8. Then you could throw in Kevin Byard so you don't have to give up maybe a future 1st round pick or future compensation. Maybe it's not that much, but
yeah. No, I mean, I could see that. I think, the reason I gave it the 2nd round and an additional pick is because I do think Byard brings, like, you could make an argument he is 1st round valuable, but I don't think a team actually gives up a 1st round pick to go get him. So what do you do when a guy has 1st round quote unquote value, but nobody wants to part ways with the first round pick that they have a 5th-year option on in order to go get a guy. Well, maybe it's a second rounder and then, a later pick to spice things in. But yeah, I think that'll be interesting with both of these guys, with Henry or Byard. If the Titans do decide to trade them, how do they do it? Is it trading them just for a pick straight up to trade into, round 2 or round 3 or round 4, whatever it is? Or is it a complementary piece to preserve future assets in a trade up in the draft, and seeing what how little damage you can take to your draft capital while also making a move for the guy that you want? That'll be fascinating because
I agree. And, Jacob brings up, you don't value him, but want to pretend other teams are going to trade assets for him. The clear answer is that the Titans hold on to both of them. I think that is more likely. I think Sam thinks that is more likely. But because of what has been said over the last couple of months regarding Byard and Henry, the conversation is justified. And I want to get to this point before you respond to that. Is David Brown saying the Falcons move up from 11 to 8? I gave out a scenario because David and Sam and everybody else, you have no effing clue, and me, I'll include this. I have no effing clue what's going to happen in the draft. Quarterbacks could fall. The Commanders could be threatening to trade up from 16 to 8 to take Anthony Richardson. And the Titans have got to try to move up from 11 to outbid them. I mean, you have no idea. And the Falcons are willing to move down because they're still in rebuild. Like, you have no clue. So I threw that out there just candidly, but because you can.
No, yeah. Right. We look at the last time the draft had this many quarterbacks right at the top of the draft. It was 2021, where you had Trevor Lawrence, you had Zach Wilson, you had Justin Fields, you had Mac Jones. I believe those were the 4 in that class, and Trey Lance. So 5 in the first round that ended up going. And what happened? So you went quarterback. Picks started happening. Justin Fields and Mac Jones were falling and still on the board. You got to the number 10 overall pick, and Chicago said, from, I believe they were at like 14 or 15, they said, well, we didn't think we'd be in a position to go trade for Justin Fields, but he's here at 10. We can move up to 10 for a reasonable price and go and get our guy. The draft, a lot of weird things can happen as some of these players that you kind of assume are going to go at the top of the draft start to fall back. Teams like the Commanders, like that, don't necessarily have a plan to be in the quarterback market, could find themselves in the quarterback market because the trades become more realistic. So, yeah, I mean, those are all of that is important to keep in mind. Like, who knows when these guys are truly going to go? Because we've started to hear everything from, first 4 picks are all going to be QBs to now Adam Schefter saying, hey, this run on quarterbacks might not happen until way later. We might get to the 10th pick or 11th pick, and the Titans could take Anthony Richardson there. Who knows? But to go back to the comment earlier about, what is most likely, I am with you. I think it is most likely that the Titans don't necessarily trade either of these guys on draft day or at all. But the conversation is not going away because the cap issues aren't going away and their salaries aren't changing. So until you see something about, Derrick Henry, has restructured his contract, or Kevin Byard has taken a pay cut, or whatever it might be, these are the issues that the Titans are going to have to face in the coming weeks, and something is going to have to give, as Jeremy Fowler said. And then Kane, real quick, to wrap things up here, says swap KB for Baker and a 4th with the next 2 number 1 picks and move to 3rd and get a QB. Do you understand what trade package he's talking about here? I'm like,
he's saying Buda Baker.
Yeah, so KB for Buda Baker and a 4th round pick, and then trade your next 2 ones to move to 3rd. Oh, so I think he's saying Kevin Byard, pick 11, and
I don't think you're going to trade a contract like Kevin Byard contract for a Buda Baker contract.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. I mean, right idea, right? Like, I mean, you try and replace a guy with another need and, work it
But
into your
I don't
deal.
think they want to replace Kevin Byard. They would want to replace Kevin Byard
Right.
to get. They'd have to justify him another way. Look,
I appreciate the creativity, though. I mean,
there we go. Well, let's get creative on Shade. We need to move forward with Shade. We're going to talk a little reality television as we move on to our final segment of this show. But Sam, I got to tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com has your perfect make and model, including the Palisade full-size SUV with third-row seating, the Ioniq, which is battery-powered, and the other fleet of vehicles that are fuel efficient. It's the Sonata, the Elantra, the Tucson, the Santa Fe. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40, exit 236. That is WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is a first bet offer that you can get with the sign-up code of ATOZ Sports. ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Basically as risk-free as it gets right there. You can get some money back. That's the best way to get involved with the sports betting season, and make sure you're doing so on the King of Sportsbook. So BetMGM, BetMGM.com, and ATOZ Sports is the bonus code.
Yep, and also when you go to BetMGM, make sure that you visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 year or older, Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications, eligibility requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from research. From problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Let's get to throwing shade.
It's time.
All right, Sam, start us off with shade. Let's get through this, and then we'll go to the chat, and then we'll finish with my shade.
All right, couple quick shades real quick. First shade is on you, Zach, because I remember our last Memphis Grizzlies conversation that we had, and you were disrespectful to my boy Jaren Jackson Jr., the defensive player of the year, and he's been balling. He balled out in game one. So real quick.
In a what? In a what?
In a loss.
In a what?
In a loss.
In a big fat F and L. And at the end of the game, this man just starts chucking up threes from the Grizz logo, gets blocked for the Lakers to go on a run to blow their ass out. The Grizzlies,
like look, somebody that had
I don't hate the Grizzlies. Let me say this, but Jaren Jackson Jr. is trashola, and he's not going to lead them to the promised land, especially with Ja Morant out. So don't give me that in a big fat L. You can't sit here and say how good. Look, Dame time, he gets L's, right? He's not in the playoffs. But Jaren
now
Jackson
you're coming
Jr.
for my boy
L.
Damian Lillard. Now you're coming for Lillard. I'm going to have to clip that. We'll see what happens.
No, I don't mind Damian Lillard. I mind Jaren Jackson Jr. Guys,
the trashola. That's going to be a clip on Twitter when Jaren.
Well, yeah, when the Grizzlies get swept or losing 5.
Well, we're going to find out, right? No Ja Morant in game 2. We're going to find out just how much
they're going to lose home court advantage in the first round against an experienced Lakers team. Like D'Angelo Russell has experience, and whether you like it or not, LeBron James and Anthony Davis have won a championship together. And watch out for AR-15, my man, because he is lights out.
He has been lights out. We'll see. It is two evils in my life, the Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Lakers playing each other. It's difficult to root for either one of those teams for me, but I do support Jaren Jackson at all points in time. Number 2, shade on Draymond Green because he's up to Draymond Green antics. What he did to Domantas Sabonis. That's Draymond being Draymond. 1 game suspension isn't enough. Like, what are we doing? We are in 2023 still stomping on dudes' ribs and like injuring them in the middle of a playoff game. I get that he's the enforcer and he's the pest. I've had it. I'm tired of watching him. The Kings are America's team. Golden State needs to get swept out of town. Number 3 is on myself for television because I went years, Zach, refusing to watch and undermining one of the greatest television shows in the history of television, and I have started it over the last couple weeks, and I am flying through episodes. I'm talking Breaking Bad because I've gotten into Breaking Bad.
I'm in the same boat. I've never seen it, and that is my fault, and I would love to get into it. It's just my time.
Well, that was what my deal was. I've had people telling me, hey, man, you got to watch it. You like movies. You love well-written TV. You like good acting. Like, this is for you. You will love it. And I said, I'm not looking for a long-term commitment up to a television show. That's why I like reality TV so much. It is, on demand, can watch as much or as little of it as I need to. One season, I'm in and out. But, a lot of episodes of television, I'm like, what am I going to do? Yeah, if that's what I'm doing in my free time, what do I do outside of that? Like, I don't know how those two things, I have regretted none of it. I started it. I think I've already wrapped season 3. I have literally been flying through it and highly, highly recommend. So shade on to myself for taking this long to watch Breaking Bad.
All right, that's good shade. Let's go to the comments, then we'll get to my shade, and then we'll wrap up. Orlando's throwing shade. There's baseball shade, right? Guy stinks.
He does stink. Marcell Ozuna does stink. He is very, very bad. Very bad. Bad person, bad player. He's not doing anything for the, what is to like about Marcell Ozuna? Nothing. That's a good shade.
Big Ten Jeff throwing Big Ten shade. Shade on Tom Luganville. A fan asked him about a ranking of a high school prospect and responded with typical Ohio State fan. No wonder people think y'all are crybabies. Like, dude, he was just asking for a reasoning. And you attacked an entire fan base on Twitter. Do better. I'll give a little golf clap to old Tom Luganville right there for hating on Ohio State fans. Shade on you guys for making us play these cruel games, choosing Kevin Byard or Derrick Henry. I told MB it was going to be a tough day. Sorry about that, but it was a good show. Let's see here. Jacob says, shade on his this is a Rottweiler. I have an affinity for Rottweilers. I feel like they get a bad rap. I feel like good, lovable Rottweilers are the best, but he's saying for being a jerk, he was messed up when I got him. He's currently attending 2-week doggy boot camp to try to get him right, $200 per day. That is tough. And Jacob, right? It's tough when you get a dog that is already predisposed to fighting or something, abuse or whatever. I don't even know if that's the case, but to get them on the right. And so we applaud you for helping change your Rottweiler and your dog's life. Throwing shade on the Loser Sons fan who got ran up on Russell Westbrook, talking all the trash. Russ went up into
How do we feel about that? How do we feel because I get it, but Russell Westbrook, we're going to a suite at halftime.
Yeah, I dislike Russell Westbrook more than I dislike Jaren Jackson Jr. And that's saying a lot because you guys know how I feel about Triple J.
You have to drop the Westbrook in there.
He is whiny. And I can't stand people that get in their feels. They get in their emotions. And Russell Westbrook is one of those type of guys. You can attack me all you want. I'm going to fight fire with fire, but I'm not going to take it personally and then go get this guy out of the game. He's been talking bad. That's not going to happen. Grow up. You're a grown ass man. So
that's fair. I think that is not a very endearing quality of Russell Westbrook right now. He gets so sensitive about the Westbrook thing. My man, everybody gets trash talked. Everybody's got to deal with it. Maybe make some more shots. And then people will stop calling you that.
Here we go. A couple quick ones before you get to mine. Jonathan says shade on people who drive in the fast lane 5 miles per hour over the limit. Some of us are really trying to break the law. John says throwing shade at A to Z fans who don't like the discussion and want to talk crap like they decide the topics. That's fair. It's the chat. So there's give and take there. Matt Moy says shade on Lance Lynn for costing me his parlay last night, even though he's a Phillies fan, couldn't use that money.
Stop. You have to bring up
well, we got to go. Jason says shade on front row stoplight drivers. You have an obligation to pay attention to the light if you're on the front row. Get off your phones and get out of your noses. Throwing shade on grown men watching reality TV, especially Love is Blind. Good Lord. Come on, Zach. All right, I'll make mine short and sweet because we have taken this show. It's been a great show. It's been a lot of good topics on this show. So I admit I do watch Love is Blind. I've been watching Love is Blind over the last several seasons. And I'm entertained by these, and I'm just going to call them like they are. They're mediocre people. Like, they are desperate, mediocre people that have gotten to a place in their life that they, for my entertainment, be it, but they've gotten to a place where they have got to go blindly, just throw spaghetti at a wall and see if it sticks. Now, we'll find out if it really does stick over the course of time. And there are some couples that I do believe will maybe work out. But my problem is not with the concept of the show. My problem is not with the cast of the show. It's not how Irina treated Zach, or it's not that Micah got left at the altar. Spoilers, sorry. But it is about who the host of the show is. Okay? Fire these people. Fire both of them.
You don't like
right
the Lachey's?
Immediately now. Nick Lachey and his wife. And his wife is dreadful.
You don't like
wife
the Lachey's?
Is horrible. Yeah. I don't have a problem necessarily with Nick Lachey. You know, he's in 98 Degrees. He's not a great host. He doesn't own the room. But Vanessa, his wife, needs to kick bricks. She's awful. Like, I have never seen a host that is worse at her job than she is. I mean, she's just trying to make it about herself. She blabs. She has her opinion about these people. It's about the people. It's not about you, Vanessa. And she makes these weird facial expressions that make you want to go jump off a cliff. They need to be fired. That's what I'm calling for. And my problem is, I don't know but I feel like sometimes they have the hosts as executive producers. So they've got some scratch in the show. And once the show becomes popular, you can't kick them off. And I feel like this is kind of where we are in this show. But the worst part of the show, which is a terrible show, right? It's
bad television, but
bad
it's good television.
I'm not here to say that I'm like an awesome television watcher and everybody else sucks. It's bad television. But the hosts are the worst part of the show. And that needs to be changed. It needs to be changed immediately. Okay? That's my shade.
Are you a member of Bachelor Nation? This is an interesting question. If you like the reality romance stuff, have you gotten into that at all?
I am not. I watched a couple of seasons early on, and then it just became exhausting. Because I'll be honest, all those guys are D-bags. And I'm not saying that these other people aren't, but those guys are losers. They're doing that, and they're not like real and authentic. And I feel like reality television is not real and authentic, but those guys are just trying to impress other people, impress other guys, impress obviously the girl, and they're losers. And so I have a tough time watching a group of that losers. Now, the women are funny on, I guess it is The Bachelor. The Bachelorette is tough because I can't watch all those loser dudes. The Bachelor is different because the women are entertaining. Like, that actually can be funny.
They cast such a perfect blend of like, there's like 4 really good guys that are qualified. Then there's like 8 guys that are just completely cringe. And then there's your D-bags that are just like, everything they say makes you want to puke, but they always keep them around to the end to make it interesting. They do a nice job of the casting. You've got a little bit of everything. I've watched a few seasons of it before.
So that is the show. That is enough reality television talk. Great show, Sam. Enjoyed it. And we'll be back bright and early tomorrow morning. Make sure that you like the show before you go, though. If it was a good show in your opinion, like the show. If it was a bad show, like the show. Just like the show, right? Like the show before you go, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter and all of our other socials. We got great content going out on A2ZSports.com, including our Titans reporter, Sam Phelan, writing articles with all of our other writers. And we'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Adios.